Ready, Sheikh?
Yeah, we can start.
Okay. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله وأصحابه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome to the third installment of Therapies from the Quran and Hadith with Sheikh Abdullah Hassan. So last week we went through with the Sheikh a number of reflections from the Quran, reflecting on verses from Surah Mujadala, focusing on the woman whose dua was accepted and responded to, rather, in the Quran itself, even though we know little about her. So despite her unknown status, her dua was responded to. We also touched on Surah Isra and Surah Duha, and we're talking about whether the concepts about whether the Prophet ﷺ was sad or not depressed, and how he dealt with those sadness. And we also talked about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala listens attentively, and we should have confidence and humility that He will respond to our du'as. So, Sheikh, over to you to take us through other aspects of the Quranic therapies. I understand that you have issues with video today, so we will be audio only today. So it's a bit like a podcast, inshallah. So whenever you're ready, Sheikh, we'll hand over to you. And as usual, we'll save some time towards the end for some questions and answers.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم لا سهل إنما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وبعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Brothers and sisters, welcome back to another the third week of therapy from the Quran and Hadith. So last week we talked about, as Matthew mentioned, about the Prophet ﷺ, about first few verses of Surah Al-Mujadala. What I want to speak about today, I don't want to take too much of your time, is about family dynamics. About family dynamics. We know in Islam, family is one of the most important pillar of the society. The family unit in Islam, in the Quran and Hadith, is extremely honored, mentioned in the Quran, mentioned in the Sunnah, mentioned in the tradition many times. The nucleus family unit, the husband, the wife, the children, and many of the ahkam, many of the rulings, laws, injunctions, do's and don'ts are related to the family. As they say, you know, well, this is something that I always say, is that a sound individual, right, in a sound family. In a sound family, right, there's a sound society. Sound society, there is a sound nation. In a sound nation, there is a sound civilization. Meaning, if the uh, individual is healthy, the family will be healthy, and vice versa. If the family is healthy, the individual will be healthy, right? And the society thus will be healthy, and then the nation will be healthy, and then you build a civilization that is sound and healthy. And this is why Islam, as I mentioned, emphasizes the importance of the roles and responsibilities the family members have towards each other. I repeat again, Islam emphasizes the roles and responsibilities the family members have towards each other. I'm going to come to the reason I mentioned this in a few moments, but as a prelude, it's very important for us to understand that, right? From a therapeutic perspective, from a counseling perspective, they mentioned the reasons why people suffer trauma. One of the reasons, and the reason anxiety, they feel anxious, they feel depressed, they feel low. There's issues in communication because of the breakdown of the family system, right? Because of the breakdown of the family system, because perhaps a member of the family is not contributing holistically, and another member of the family is contributing to the breakdown of the family, or a member of the family, they're not fulfilling their roles and their responsibilities towards the family members, right? So when a child, for example, and this is talked about in from the psychodynamic perspective a lot in that particular school of thought, right? When a child is not, facing, is not, faced with a comprehensive, if you like, outlook in life, where a child is facing difficulties and challenges, right? Where a child is abused, whether it be physically or emotionally, what they say is that, that when the child grows up, becomes an adult, right? That determines how that child behaves in adult life. I mean, from the Islamic perspective, we don't really believe in that, right? Because our behavior is not, we're not deterministic. Yeah, we're not deterministic, meaning that our past does not determine our present and future. Our past does not determine our present and future. However, right, what happens in our life, in our relationship, we remember. Yeah, and that can contribute towards the way we think and the way we behave. Not fully, but can contribute towards, right? So we're not the psychodynamic school of thought. They say, it's determined, right? It's deterministic, that definitely what happens in our childhood will impact how we behave in the future. That's from the Islamic perspective. Although this is something everywhere in our society, in movies, in pop culture, in songs, everywhere people talk about it, right? Freud, the Freud's understanding is everywhere. That's not, that's not a correct understanding. That's not, even a scientific understanding of it. Yeah. However, what I would say is that there is some similarity, there's some correlation, there is some contributing factors. Yeah. The way we kind of see how we see things, at least in the future. So but that is why, and the Prophet said that كل مولود يولد على الفطرة, right? That every child is born on every newborn child is born on a natural disposition to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the parents make him a Christian or a Jew or Zoroastrian, or meaning society has, the way society behaves, the popular culture impacts our psyche. Popular culture impacts the way we think. There are people who assume or believe that they're free, right? In the liberal Western society, the people assume that we are free. We are free to think the way we think, that we are free to behave the way we behave, and they forget that none of us is free in one sense, right? Yes, we are, in the sense that we are more free than many of despotic countries, that we have freedom to vote and we have democracy and whatnot. But even within that, are we truly free? You look at on a basic level, brothers and sisters, really important for us to understand this introduction. You look at Facebook, for example, the algorithm Facebook uses, or Instagram, right? You talk about something, or you discuss something on a platform, WhatsApp platform or Facebook, and then later on you see 100 of adverts coming your way, right? You discuss. So the Facebook, they have these algorithms, right? And they know what you like. It knows what you like, what you dislike, and it has millions of algorithms to work this out. Even you look at the Cambridge, and the whole fiasco, voting fiasco, in the Brexit, vote. And they found, this Cambridge company and other companies, how they use algorithms to sway the voters, psyche, essentially. they use algorithms, voting algorithm, adverts, they spent millions paid adverts, right, to make good people look bad and bad people look good. So are we are we truly free? Do we really think from a free thinking perspective? I mean, that's debatable. I think that's debatable. So our society, that's why I always talk about popular culture. The whole kind of counseling, just on a side note, psychotherapy counseling, Western, or I would say secular, non-religious counseling, which unfortunately many Muslims are succumbing to. We are utilizing, or we are basing our approach from a popular liberal cultural perspective. The very questions, the very paradigms, the very questions that we ask in a counseling dialogue come from that popular culture. And the question that we remember, and the question that we ask, the language that we use, has an impact on our psyche, because language creates reality. Language creates reality. That is why the Quran is revealed in Qur'an Arabiyyan Mubin. It's amazing, right? That the Quran is revealed in a clear Arabic tongue. The language of heaven is Arabic. The Arabic is the most richest language in the entire world. You could not write the Quran in English. You cannot write the Quran in French. There is no other language alive or ever existed, probably apart from Aramaic, which is very similar to Arabic, than Arabic language, right? Because it's powerful, it's ijad, it's miraculous, right? And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that speech, right? Inna libayani la sihra. That indeed in speech there is, magic. A person is able to, a liar, and I don't want to mention names, and I'm thinking many politicians here, yeah. I'm thinking many politicians here, right? A liar, right, is made to appear to look like a good person, a truthful person. An honest person is made to appear like a bad person, a liar. And we know, and this is one of the signs of the Day of Judgment. So speech, advertisement, right, popular culture, all plays in how we perceive things. If in a group of 20, 50 people, if we take an innocent person and say that person is like this or that person is like this, we make things up, then another 50 people, another 100 people, that will stick. If you tell a lie, more than 3 times, it becomes reality, it becomes truth for people. This is an old adage, but it's true. If you tell someone a lie a number of times, you repeat that lie over and over again, right? Then what happens? It becomes reality for some people. So reality perception is created in the psyche of people, right? Reality, how we perceive things, how we see things is different in this society, right? That is why everyone talks about how you see things, how I see things. There's no objective truth. There's no objective, there's no reality with capital R. There's only realities. Yeah, so again, I'm going from a tangent, but it's important for us to understand that from a psychological, therapeutic perspective, right? So family is emphasized. So when a husband is not taking care of the wife, when the wife is not taking care of the husband, when the parents are not taking care of the children, the family dynamics break up. That's why there's a whole model in Western psychology and counseling, right? It's systemic counseling, looking at the whole family, person as a whole, also the family. I think that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. You can't separate the individual from the family and the society. What what a lot of the models, psychodynamic and many of the models, what they do, they try to separate, right? Where they measure, right, from society, from economics, from politics, right? Mental health, for example, is a political issue. It's economical. It's an economical issue. It's not simply a psychological issue. And what is psychology? Is the whole unit of a human being, whole person of a human being, and that consists of his psychology, his mental capacity, his physical well-being, his social well-being, his economic, political well-being. So we talk about family dynamics from the Islamic perspective. When certain people are not fulfilling their roles and responsibilities, then problems occur, difficulties occur, right? When everyone is fulfilling their responsibility, that is why, if you look, brothers and sisters, in the Quran and Sunnah, it's very, very clear. And the Quran and Sunnah is very, very clear what a husband should do, what a wife should do, what a child should do, what a daughter should do, what a uncle should do, what a grandparent should do. It's very, very clear. And scholars in the tradition, the last 1400 years, they talked about it, and they clearly delineated it in their works, because Allah, and even, for example, inheritance, money. When you mix in money, for example, right? When you mix in money within the family setting, and I've counseled family members who, when it comes to inheritance and money, when business, the son forgets the father, and the brother forgets the brother. They become enemies, right? They become enemies. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has clearly, right, approximately, no estimate, right, has said the father gets this amount of share of inheritance, the son gets this amount of share, the daughter gets this amount of share, the wife gets this amount of share. This happens. Very, very clear. Allah knows that He created us. He knows what will happen. Yeah. So I want to talk about a couple of family dynamics and from the Quran, and then relay it to our own practical life, inshallah. So, those of you who've attended the Surah Yusuf, that's one example we talked about at length, the family dynamics there, right? Yusuf alayhi salam is in a family, is a large family. His brothers, 11 brothers, they were jealous of him. They tried to assassinate him, all right? And they threw him inside the well, and he became estranged from them for many, many, many years. But till his father, Yaqub alayhi salam, thought that he was dead, right? Now, within that family dynamics, right? If we jealousy is the key word here. Envy and jealousy is the key word here, right? Will you believe me if I said that the husband can get jealous of the wife, and the wife can get jealous of the husband, and the brothers can get jealous of their sisters, and the sisters can get jealous of their brothers, and brothers can get jealous of their brothers and sisters versus sisters. This happens even within the family setting. That is why our scholars recommended that when we look at our children and we see they make us they make us comfortable, we say, what do we say? We say Masha Allah. Right? There's such thing as envy. So it's not surprising that I do counseling of couples and families. I see there's a lot of jealousy between family members. Why? Because envy and jealousy, when you begin to compete, when family members begin to compete with each other about their roles and responsibilities, people become depressed, family breaks down. But when everyone is fulfilling their own, people talk about, my right, this is my right in Islam, this is my right in Islam. But they don't emphasize enough my responsibility or their responsibilities towards each other. Yeah. So the key word here is envy. Right, jealousy, and the brothers of Yusuf, they allow jealousy and envy to, be present in the minds for a long time. Till, it's not just about jealousy now. They were acting it out to the most extreme level, whereby they literally decided to kill, assassinate, murder. I mean, like murder. And similarly, you look at the first murder that took place on planet Earth, according to the Qur'an, right? As Allah mentioned in the Qur'an, Habil and Qabil. Why? Again, why? Why? One brother became jealous and envy of another brother. They were not content with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So when a person is jealous and the families are jealous and they fight and they argue and they come to a session with me sometimes, I say, okay, hang on a minute. What is the underlying issue here? Right? Underlying issue one of the things is that jealousy, pride. Right? When it comes to, Islam mentions this, when it comes to Western kind of therapeutic approaches and psychology, they will not talk about pride and how pride can even impact our psyche. They don't talk about jealousy and envy and how that can be also pathological. But we have in the Quran Sunnah that these things, right? Summun bukmun umyun fahum la yubsirun, fahum la yash'urun. That they become arrogant, become narcissistic, they become proud to the point that they become deaf, dumb, and blind. Right? They become so proud that they're not able to see the truth from falsehood. It blinds them. Yeah. So these are diseases. These are spiritual as well as psychological diseases, because the spiritual impacts our psyche, psychological, and vice versa. Because remember, the person is a unit. A person has many different components, right? So again, jealousy. So if you don't address the jealousy bit, envy, then you may, a person may come and talk to you and may feel better for a while, but in the long run, if you don't address the jealousy, the envy, they will come back to you again. They will have more problems again. Yeah. So how do we address jealousy? How do we, the very, very first thing that for us to understand that, is that everything that we have, everything that we have or do not have in this life, in our family setting, in our individual capacity, whatnot, right, is decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's qadr. No matter how much jealousy you have or how envious you are of another person, right, you are not. If you're envy of another person, you are actually not being happy or content with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a problem of aqidah. When a person is not happy with the decree of Allah, when a person is envy, right? When a person is envious and jealous of another person, and what is jealousy, right? Or envy is that you desire, right, something from a person, but not only desire that you want that thing, but you don't want that person to have it. You don't want that person to have it. That's the definition of jealousy and envy, right? And then what does that mean? That you are not happy or content with the decree of Allah, the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's problematic from a creedal perspective. Yeah. So that is why, especially in the month of Ramadan, generally, right, the Quran ends, by the way, as we all know, Quran ends وَإِذَا حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ, when I seek refuge in Allah from the envier when he envies. When the envier when he envies, because when the envier envies, it could do damage. Right? When a woman is envious of the husband or other people, when men are envious of the wives and other people, it becomes problematic. Right? When we as Muslims become envious of other people, right? Oh, a non-Muslim man and woman climbed Mount Everest, and we cannot become truly human beings and Muslims until we climb Mount Everest. You see the problem here. It's about competing. Men and women competing against each other. The society is, this Society is built on that. Where Islam says is that our roles are complementary. Right? Hunna libasun lakum wa antum libasun lahunna. They are garments for you and you are garments for them. An-nisa shaqa'iqur rijal, as the Prophet says in Bukhari, that the women are the twin halves of the men in society. It's complementary. It's not competitive. But a lot of this stuff, a lot of the things, a lot of the problems occur because people are competing. Husband is competing. The wife is competing and becoming jealous. Right? And that the other point is that when it comes to social media and the family dynamic, the whole social media has changed slightly the way we perceive things, the family dynamics. Yeah, there are people who are literally, subhanallah, there are brothers and sisters, there are brothers who are posting their body pictures, like their biceps and their triceps and whatnot, on social media, where everyone can see. And why? There are sisters, right, who are, some are not wearing hijab, some wear hijab and wearing makeup, and they, flaunting their beauty on social media. And what happened? And this creates jealousy. We can't, brothers and sisters, I cannot emphasize, envy is real. Hasad, envy, the ayn is real. From an aqidah perspective, from Quran Sunnah, ayn is real. Yeah? It's mentioned in the Quran, and in fact, in the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. Remember, if you go back to the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, ayn is mentioned. Yaqub alayhi salam, when Yaqub salam, when the brothers came back, from Egypt, and they wanted to go back because Yusuf alayhi salam requested Benjamin to for them to take Benjamin, and Yaqub alayhi salam was fearful. Right? And the verse is discussing, the scholars mention ayn. The Sunnah discusses ayn, and I've seen it. In Ruqya, people suffer because of ayn. And now you have family breakdown because of that. But we have to be very, very careful. I'm not saying brothers and sisters, you can't go on Facebook. There's etiquette about going on Facebook. I'm not even saying you shouldn't post your picture. I post, for example, in terms of like events I do, there's posters, different organizations they want pictures. I'm not saying that's haram. Yeah, I'm not saying that's haram. Even though I'm slightly reluctant. But I'm saying that there are people who are going out of the way to flaunt the beauty, going out the way to flaunt the bicep, going out the way, again, where did we get, fashion from? Like, there are brothers and sisters who are fashion models. This is antithetical to the teaching of Islam. Right? I know some people might not like this. It's got to be said. Right? Where in the Quran and Sunnah said that modeling and exposing your beauty in front of everyone, that's allowed? I mean, this is antithetical to the spirit of Islam. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna make a judgment about people, and I'm not gonna say it's haram. I'm saying we have to think about it, because these affect our psyche, affect how we function as a society, function as a family. Where and yes, what we wear is important, definitely. The psychology of clothing, inshallah, after Ramadan, I'm planning to do a course on this. Yeah, from a psychological perspective, people, there are courses out there. We are allowed to wear these hijab and niqab and blah 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 and thobes and whatnot. Very, the point is not that you can wear what you want, right? As long as you follow certain conditions. But there's a psychology behind it. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala order, a woman to wear the hijab? Or in some opinions, niqab even. Right? Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala order men to behave in a certain way and women to behave in a certain way? There's all these things impact the psyche of the human being. We should not assume that when a person, right, that when we see a image of someone, doing this, and that it does not impact our psyche, right? It does. That is why, from Islamic perspective, we have to be very, very careful, because there's ayn there, there's hasad, there's jealousy. A lot of people will come to the therapeutic room, right? A lot of therapists don't realize that these spiritual and psychological elements impact, the way we perceive things, right? Jealousy and envy, right? And the Western kind of psychology does not talk about this. The DSM will not talk about this, right? The DSM is very problematic, right? The diagnostic manual that diagnoses, the defines depression, anxiety, and all that. It's very problematic. Even non-Muslims, experts are talking about this, right? And it's very. I've read many books and research and studied, and right. It's very, very problematic, because it problematizes everything. It problematizes everything. Why? Because they need. And I don't want to go into a discussion with that. The point is that these whole, in terms of going on social media, right? It can be very problematic. So when we go on social media, brothers and sisters, we have to follow certain etiquette. Yes, there are differences between brothers and sisters. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. There are differences between brothers and sisters. There are differences between how brothers look and how sisters look. There's no doubt about that. That's why, Allah says in the Qur'an, and this is again another aspect that I want to also talk about, and this deals with the family, within family dynamics, right? Allah says in Surah Mu'minun, what did he say? Really, really important. Qul, command, it's a command. قل للمؤمنين أن يغضوا من أبصارهم. Another verse. قل للمؤمنات أن يغضضن من أبصارهن. That tell the believing men to lower their gaze, and tell the believing women to lower their gaze. ذلك أزكى. This is pure for them. This is pure for them, right? So what happens when a person is looking at images, the sexual images, looking at another person from a sexual perspective, fantasizes about that person, right? Fantasizes about that person. Is not able to get that person's image out of the minds, right? He's not able to get the person's face out of the minds. When he is praying, he's seeing that person in front of him, right? When he is working, he's seeing that person. When he's teaching, seeing that person, right? That impacts the psychology, impacts how the person in that family unit perceive things. That's why Allah said, قل للمؤمنين أن يغضوا من أبصارهم, that they should lower their gaze. What does lowering the gaze mean? No, it's not literal, right? It's not literal. You lower the gaze in the sense that, what if you lower the gaze and there are, someone is not wearing, trousers, woman is wearing a skirt. It means that you avoid looking at things that is reprehensible in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that also impacts, pornography impacts our psyche. It is addictive, right? I think I mentioned this before. When we look at those images, right? When you look at those images, a certain kind of drug, if you like, I want to use language that you can understand. A certain drug is released within our brain, yeah. And we keep on looking at it. We keep on looking at it, right? We become more and more kind of. We become immune to it. That is why when someone is taking a drug, they want to take more, and they want to do more bad things. They become immune to it, and they want more. They want to go to the extreme. They want to go to the extreme, right? And it's a loop. It's a loop that they're going through, right? So when a person is seeing an image that he should not seeing, and it looks, for example, like it starts off with just looking at the face. I'm gonna be forgive me if I'm Ramadan, I know, but it's gonna be an example. Starts off looking at the face, fantasize about the face, for example, and then looks at the body, fantasize about the body, because the face is not enough now. Now it's the body, right? But now, and looks at a person, naked, the images online or whatever, because that's not the first one is not enough, right? You got used to it. The brain got used to it, and it's more, right? And not and just looking at pictures is not enough. Naked picture is not enough now. And to see the actual act with other people, and that's not enough now. Has to do it. Do you see how that drug works? And that what that happens is that what happens within the psyche of a person becomes depressed, because it's not able to fulfill and fulfill a healthy sexual relationship with their spouse. There are I've counseled couples where this problem is there, and the husband is not able to please the wife, and the wife is not able to please the husband. It's a big problem, brothers and sisters. It's a massive problem. And again, the family dynamics changes. Family dynamics change. You see, so I can go on and mention kind of many other injunctions, right, in the Quran. It's replete where that impacts the individual and that impacts the family dynamics. When it impacts the family dynamics, right, then you have problems in society. So when it comes even jealousy and envy, allowing all these things, Sharia is cohesive, it's systemic, it's cohesive, right? You can't demarcate one thing from another, but you can't isolate. When you for example, the 5 pillars, when you do not pray, that impacts the other pillars. As an example, when you don't do one thing, then impacts the other things. Yeah. So I hope and pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, blesses everyone, inshallah. I want to end here, and I want to go into to my work. Spend about 45 minutes already, so I'm going to, inshallah, just stop here. And if there are any, I hand over to Mathura, and if there are any questions or comments, and we'll spend about 5 minutes to do that, inshallah.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. You covered a lot of things there. Yeah, just encourage anybody, if you have any questions, you can either put your hand up or put it on the chat, and we can address them, inshallah. But I've got maybe one to kick us off with, Sheikh. So you're talking about obviously jealousy and envy. And is there any specific du'as or surahs that we should be reciting to protect ourselves against that evil eye, if you like, jealousy and envy of other people?
Yeah, definitely recite, the Ayatul Kursi. Yeah, we cite the 3 quls, very important, and as to protect ourselves and protect others, I always say, like, when you say MashaAllah, Alhamdulillah, when you look at good things, say MashaAllah, Tabarakallah. Yeah, it's really important. Appreciate the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but at the same time we mitigate some of the things that we mitigate things. Yeah, we mitigate things, right?
So what do you mean by mitigate, Sheikh?
Meaning, I mentioned lower the gaze.
Oh, that's just
like
avoid.
when you go, like, for example, when you go on social media, right? There's a way of behaving on social media. I'm astonished. Like, even brothers, I get actually messages from sisters sometimes. Yeah, obviously, as an Imam and a counselor, people contact me, right, on Facebook and other places. I get sisters, say, Imam, you need to advise their brothers, because when they go on social media and they come out the gym with their biceps and triceps, and they said that, well, we have feelings too, we have urges too, it's true, isn't it? Right? It's not only men who have urges. Sisters also have urges. right? So with the brothers, I advise brothers, like when there are brothers that they come out of the gym, you know, bulking like Hulk Hogan, and you know what I mean, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and their triceps are coming out, their biceps are coming out, their chest are coming out. Some even they post their pictures, you know, upper body naked. I'm like, hang on a minute. I mean, I'm not saying it's haram, by the way, like, because there are rules, different rules for brothers and sisters, yeah. But even then, you should avoid it because there's envy and jealousy, and people have, you know, desires, yeah, and also sisters. You know, sisters also complain. You know, my wife also says that you know, there are sisters who, alhamdulillah, I don't look at this stuff, but there are sisters who, right, who don't wear the hijab, or who, even if they wear the hijab, the whole purpose of hijab is gone. The purpose of hijab is to be modest. Purpose of hijab is to be modest. It's not to flaunt your beauty. There's a whole kind of industry of, you know, hijab tutorials and makeup tutorials by hijabis and hijabi fashion models and whatnot. That's antithetical to the teaching of Islam.
And it seems that some of those more prominent, so I mean, I don't want to be super critical, but hijab models sometimes end up discarding the hijab as well, which causes quite problems for some of the people who used to look up to them.
Yeah. Look, I'm not. Everyone is on a. Everyone is on a different journey. So I'm not. You know, we all make mistakes. Everyone on a different journey. So we shouldn't judge. I don't judge. But if you're going to kind of say, "Oh, this is Islamic," that's a problem.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to wear hijab. That's up to you. Meaning that, you know, it's between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to work with you. I'm going to, you know, and there are, you know, there are many sisters that I've worked with who are non-hijabis, and they're much better than sisters, unfortunately, that I've worked with who are hijabis and niqabis. So for me, that's not, you know, I hope my point is clear, but I'm saying don't like establish something in Islam that which is not Islamic. Yeah.
And there's one interesting thing that you mentioned earlier in your talk about qadr, about the fact that, you know, our past doesn't determine where we end up, and you said that some of the deterministic ways of looking at things in a psychological perspective is antithetical to our aqidah. I was wondering if you could expand on that. That's quite an interesting point.
So the other models, they're deterministic. Yeah? That what happened, or like the biological model, in a way that, you know, our genes, yeah, predetermine the way we would behave in life. Our genes predetermine the way what we would do or not do, and that's obviously wrong. Yeah, that's obviously wrong. There's an element in terms of it's qadr. Can we qadr? Obviously, we cannot understand, but we have free will. We are able to say no to this or that. Yeah. So the other models who are deterministic, meaning that what happened in their childhood, right, predetermines how they live as an adult. I'm not saying it doesn't have an impact. I'm not saying it doesn't have an effect, but it's not deterministic. There are many people who had gone through horrendous difficulties while they were children, but they've come out fighting and they've come out good. There are other people who perhaps went through horrendous difficulties, but they've not come out. It's different for different people, so it's subjective. It's about your resilience and whatnot. But we can't. So, but the whole model are based on this understanding. But also, you know, this whole issue about problem talking. Yeah. You know, in our brain there are pathways. There are connections. Yeah. In our brain there are pathways, and this is discussed by, I must say, not by me. I'm talking about, this is discussed in, you know, by neuroscientists. Yeah, this is discussed by neuroscientists. neuroscientists. Yeah, so there are pathways and connections. When we talk about the problem, when we focus on the problem, right? When we focus on the problem, we make the problem a bigger issue. What we see depends on what we look for. Does that make sense? What we see depends on what we look for. If I want to, if I want to see bad in you, I can see bad in you. Does that make sense? Yeah. If I want to see good in you, I can see good in you. That's why we have the concept of husnul dhan in Islam. If I want to see good in things, right? I can. I'm not saying it's all relative, no, because good and evil is not all the time relative. Yeah, but I'm saying is that when it comes to many things, if I want to, what is marketing? I mean, look at in the whole marketing industry, right? The whole marketing industry can be very problematic, right? Why you look at certain people who are liars. They're not only I'm not going to mention the names of politicians, known politicians, right? Who have lied and lied and lied. They lie. They're pathological liars, right? They're womanizers. They cheat on their family, literally. This document. They cheat on their family, right? But they are seen to be truthful because of marketing. Whereas the other politicians who are not like that, right? They're decent human being, good human being. They are the enemies. They are the liars. They are the cheaters.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I mean, spin, the whole issue of spin has a big impact.
That's what the Prophet ﷺ said. One of the signs of the Day of Judgment is that, right, that the truthful one will become, will be seen to be liars, and the liars will seen to be truthful ones. Yeah.
So, Sheikh, I got one final question in the chat sent to me. You're talking about family dynamics, but what if there are non-Muslims within the family dynamic? How do we best manage this, given that I guess they're not bound by Quranic injunctions or Sharia rulings, for example, or inheritance?
Yeah, look, it's in terms of non-Muslims, they're not bound by it, but there are the Quranic injunctions about how people should behave with each other is not very different from traditional family values. If you look at in our country, in the UK, the traditional conservative family values are Islamic values, to be honest. Right? They're not antithetical from Islamic values. Right? Even now, I have friends who are scholars who are converts. Right? And I remember I was studying in Jordan, yeah, and we had a convert brother from Jordan, from America. And in Jordanian, the youth, a lot of them, they want to imitate Western youth, the way they dress and whatnot. And he was saying to me, look, and he said to me, you're from London, you also should know this, right? He said, and we were saying, look, these youth, they want to be more Western than the Westerners. They want to be more Western than the Westerners. And he was saying that, when I was a non-Muslim, I didn't drink, I didn't eat pork. Right? I was respectful to my parents. I was a good human being. But these are Islamic values, so they're not very different. So it would depend on what we're talking about, what are the specific issues. Yeah, but I think people just need to be kind, compassionate, caring, empathetic in their attitude and behavior, inshallah.
That's a good note to, I think, end in. Unless there's any final questions for anybody, I'll give you a quick chance to write something or put your hand up. No, I think that's it, Sheikh. Jazakallah khair. We will be meeting one more. I think one last session next week, inshallah.
Yes, next week will be the last, isn't it? And then
then we're likely to be in Eid.
13th, Thursday 13th might be Eid, isn't it?
That's right.
I'm not saying, by the way, brothers, I'm not saying 13th is the Eid. Right?
It's a possibility.
It's a possibility.
Yeah. But I think we said that we're having 4 sessions, so that next week will be probably the last session, inshallah. So, Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Let's end it there. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. We'll be seeing you tomorrow, won't we, for
yes, Jummah, isn't it?
Jummah.
Yes, inshallah.
Jummah. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair, everybody. Assalamu alaikum.